Greetings, everybody. On this Saturday, my country, the United States of America, will be celebrating its national holiday, the 4th of July, Independence Day, and celebrating 250 years as a country. We have come a long way in 250 years. In 1776, the Founding Fathers declared independence with the famous line from the Declaration of Independence being that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which has been a rallying cry throughout our history. The Founding Fathers fought with the UK and won independence, perhaps the first to win independence from the British Empire, before we learned to play cricket, but that's another thing. But ultimately, our national narrative is that we became independent and that we stand for liberty and freedom and that we are a beacon of freedom for the world, and that kind of goes back actually to the Puritans with a shiny city on a hill. And 87 years later, Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address talking about 70 years ago, which is 87 years, our fathers brought forth a new nation. He mentions how the nation was then engaged in the Civil War, determining its survival, and expressed the hope that this nation, with its government by the people, for the people, will not perish. From the time between declaring independence until the Civil War, the U.S. wrestled with how it could proclaim on one hand that all men are created equal and are endowed with liberty and inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, while slavery existed and people were held in bondage. It was a very heated topic at the time. There was an underground railroad protecting people and helping people escape from slavery and get into free states, and people in slave states hated it. Eventually, it led to war, a 4-year civil war, and the surrender of the South and the Confederate States of America. And eventually, the Constitution was amended in the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. The 14th Amendment granted formerly enslaved people and anyone born in the U.S. The citizenship, which is the origin of birthright citizenship, and from that point, all white and black people were eligible for U.S. citizenship. Other people did not gain that right, and like Asians who were born in Asia did not get that right until for another 100 years, though Asian Americans born in the U.S. were eligible for citizenship. But after that, as there were attempts to grant rights to African Americans after that, including the right to vote in at least the North. The South suppressed that. But apart from race, the U.S. grew, became more prosperous, expanded, and became a major power. And in the world wars, the U.S. saw itself as defending democracy, which is what Presidents Wilson in World War I and Roosevelt in World War II proposed. In World War II would be the narrative is that the U.S. was the champion of democracy, fighting fascism in Europe, and freeing Europe from the grip of fascism. And that the free world saw itself as a defender of the free world, a narrative that still exists to this day. But after the war, the U.S. had to again confront the issue of race as even though slavery had ended in the 1860s and black people were given rights, a lot of them were restricted, particularly in southern states. So there was a resistance to try to extend those rights in the civil rights movement, as Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King championed extending civil rights, not especially for African Americans, but for everybody. And ultimately, Jim Crow laws that segregated the South, where there would be whites only and colored facilities were abolished, and in theory, African Americans were given the same rights as white people, and the legal barriers were removed. But to this day, the country wrestles with the impact of that, and heated debates go over how to address that issue. But over time, the other people also got rights. In the 1920s, Native Americans were given U.S. citizenship. Asians became eligible for citizenship in the 1960s, and over time, the Cold War ended, and the U.S. Narrative of prosperity and of freedom continued, and despite the fight over the Vietnam era and that defeat, which has led to this day, when the U.S. has a military action, supporters appeal to World War II, while critics will appeal to the Vietnam War or the Iraq War of 2003. And over time, the rights were extended to women, and to other people, and I see it as the U.S. started with a narrative of being the American experiment, a new kind of nation, like an app. In 1865, in the late 1860s, the app was updated to end slavery and give rights to black people. In the 1960s, it was updated again to extend more rights to black people, and so I will give it overall a success. I think the U.S. could learn from other nations, and other nations could learn from the U.S. But now for how we celebrate the 4th of July. We have parades. When I was in Cyprus, I remember parades on holidays, and because I was in a city, I was able to go see them. Like, towns and cities have them, but it's not always easy to go see them, but you could always watch them on TV, watch the parades on TV. In addition, Americans also a lot of Americans have barbecues with family and friends. My late grandmother, when she was still healthy enough to do so, used to host a barbecue at her place. So I remember that when I was younger, and there were also fireworks in the evenings as we remember our independence. So to my American viewers, happy 4th of July. To my Cypriot and other viewers, this is what the 4th of July is about. This is a little bit of how the U.S. history has turned over the past 250 years. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, like and subscribe, and I will encourage my American viewers. I will admit, the culture wars are a major issue, something I did not miss overseas, but when I will say my Facebook friend list has a lot of people on both sides, because I met you all through the course of my life, and my Facebook friend list is determined by some kind of relationship I have with you. So I urge my American people to take a day off, relax. That doesn't mean you don't have to care about the causes that you find important, but sometimes you need a break to breathe, to relax, and I encourage you to do that. And then you could get back to it today too. I encourage my conservative followers, yes, hold on to the best in the U.S., know what's good, hold on to that, and to the liberal progressive, challenge that which is not the best. You may all disagree with that, but I do trust you all to do what is best and what is right. So, thank you for listening, and God bless America. And here's to another 250 years. Have a good holiday.